Hey guys, Fat Man Tully, Bluegrass Bushcraft asked about the tool that I use to round my corners on my leather work. And it's nothing real special, really. It's pretty easy to make. And so I'm going to show how I make it. I do need to make a few changes. I'm going to have to at least harden the end of it where I do the cutting. So, you know, hang out with me. I'll show you what we're doing. This is just a 1/2 inch pipe, steel pipe, but it's a welded seam pipe, which is something I want to get away from. The next one will probably be out of a DOM tubing, which is drawn over mandrel, so it doesn't have a welded seam in it. And you're not going to be able to see the seam, but when I get downstairs to get the rest of the work done on it, I am going to, I don't have anything to write with in my toolbox here that I can get at. Anyway, I'm going to cut up this way about halfway through the pipe, and I'm going to cut up just, doesn't take much, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and I like to just angle it back, but that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to get my grinder, my hand grinder, and clamp this down to a bench and get her cut. So I'll be right back. Okay, I went over a little over half, and that's rough. I'll fire up the grinder here, my bench grinder, and rough it out a little bit more, and then we'll get a rough edge on it, and I'm going to have to heat treat it a little bit, or harden it. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, from what I understand of hardening metal, I'm not an expert at this by any means. You basically heat it up till it's red hot. Don't get in oil. So I have a can of some waste oil here from my lawnmower last year, and get my torch going. Hey! Dogs, I tell you. Hopefully this will be hot enough. So we'll quench. We'll just let that sit in the oil for a few minutes. Then we'll cut it to length and take it down to the basement. I'm going to make it about 4 inches long is all it needs. So I'll cut it off at 4 inches, bring it downstairs, and we'll finish her up. Alright guys, up until this point everything's been done pretty much with a grinder. So I'm just going to, there's some sharp edges here I'm going to take off. Having files with a lot of different shapes is kind of nice. So I do have my light here too. So I think I'm going to go ahead and clean all these edges up, and I'll turn you back on in a few. I just kind of got it halfway decent. It doesn't. This part doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't want any sharp edges that you could cut yourself on. This edge is the one that matters. So I'm going to take a file to it and file it out. And we'll go from there. Always be careful with your files because you're filing especially on a round part. And know what kind of files you have. This is a single cut file, so it only cuts in one direction. Take that down a little more. So you can kind of tell we're getting there. I'm going to keep plugging away. I'm going to grab some smaller files, my jeweler's files, and try to clean it up just a little more even. And I'll be back. Well, I've got it about as done as it's going to get. So for this one, I'm going to have to deal with it. I think this is some pretty soft steel. And even with hardening the steel, it's chipping on the edge. So the other one didn't chip on the edge, but it was really weak and it would ding really easy. So this one's not dinging, but it's chipping. So I think I need to go with find some different kind of steel, and I may have to start from scratch and build a whole different kind of deal. But that's okay. You know, between this one and the other one, it'll get me by for a while. Do the trick. I'm going to get a hold of some stainless steel and see if that makes any difference. So hang out. We'll catch you in the next video. Stay safe and God bless.